Is today the day we find out whether Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss or leaves? And if so, one would naturally think if he's leaving, his future destination would be revealed. Of course, that will be our topic of conversation, along with wondering whether the feel-good story of the 2-8 Saints will continue against its most hated rival. And with Tulane controlling its own destiny, can they calm the doubters with a big win at Temple? Could we have breaking news on the show today? Zach Ewing will be here to talk about all that and all that's going on. And the Pick'em crew will roll on with their best bets for Week 12. Can we keep rolling? It's Fun Friday. The best way to kick off that is by starting the Dattitude podcast, which is, I think we click this button right.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Is there anything going on this morning? Will anything go on this afternoon? We have so much to talk about. So little time. Well, I guess technically we have as much time as we want. But I know what we do have, for sure. We have Dattitude, episode number 441, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Friday, November the 21st, 2025. I'm your host. If you don't know who I am, Jim Derry, 35 plus years on the New Orleans sports media scene. I thank you for being a part of this Dat family. What is special about this show? Well, today might be a little different than most shows. We may have breaking news on this show. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what is special about our show is if you want to comment, if you're watching live, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, even if you're watching on X, I'm not sure the comments come through. You might have to find us on YouTube or X if you want to, on Facebook if you want to comment. But if you type a comment, we're going to show it. We're going to talk back to you. That's how we roll here on Dat. We are live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. If you're watching any of the major, if you would rather listen, any of the major podcast platforms, we are on there, including Spotify, Apple, all of those. Get in touch with me on X at Jim Derry Jr. You know the routine. Jim at jimderry.com. And if you haven't done so, please take a second to subscribe to our YouTube page. Okay, let's get to it. We are going to be talking a lot about Lane Kiffin. Gabe Henderson is going to be monitoring what's going on social media while I am here. He's going to leave. He is going to be typing to me. The Pick'em crew, we got a little change. I know a lot of you are waiting to see what we talk about as far as what happens with Lane Kiffin today. In case you don't know this already, he is meeting with Ole Miss Athletic Director Keith Carter. It's a scheduled meeting that is going to take place today, Friday, at noon. It's 11:08 Central Time right now as I talk about this. If you're watching later and wondering what the hell, by the time you watch this, there actually may be a result. There may be some kind of breaking news that has already happened. So we apologize for that. But if it happens during the show, we are ready to go. We will talk about it. Zach Ewing right now is recording with his LSU insiders. They're recording their show. So he's going to come on when they're done. So usually Zach is on Fridays around 11:30 or so. Today's probably not going to come on until about 11:40 or 11:45. So we're actually going to, I know it's a little weird, especially with all the breaking news. So I'm just letting y'all know we got a really big crowd this morning. I appreciate that. But I'm just letting y'all all know that we're probably going to do our picks first today. And I know that's weird, especially today. It's a weird day to do it. But we have a little time to talk. So who knows? Maybe the Pick'em crew will chime in because we all have our thoughts about what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin. And if you're new here, and I know there's a lot of people who are new here, I'm going to say what I've been saying for the past multiple weeks. I know that all the reports, everything points towards Lane Kiffin coming to LSU. Okay, I understand that. I get it. I know why. I don't think I've seen one report say that he's not coming to LSU. My gut, my 35 years in this business, and maybe it's the part better in me, and I mean Bettor, not ER. Maybe it's the gambler in me. It's the degenerate in me that would, if I were gambling, if I were betting on this, I would still bet against it. And when I say against it, I mean Lane Kiffin coming to LSU. I don't think he's going to Florida. Look, I watch Matt Moscone on a regular basis when it comes to this stuff. I listen to Mike Detillier. I've been watching Blake Ruffin as the past couple of weeks and several other people trying to get a feel for what's going on. And I'm just going to say, this something ain't right. When it's this easy, it's usually not, right? When something's supposed to happen, and it not always, sometimes it goes according to plan and exactly the way that people think it's going to go. But there's something about this whole thing that smells. I'm not exactly sure what it is. So whether Lane Kiffin comes, look, if he announces he's leaving, then I think there's going to be a part and parcel. I don't think it's just going to be Lane Kiffin is leaving Ole Miss. I think the story is going to be Lane Kiffin is leaving Ole Miss and he's coming to LSU. I think there's two outcomes. I really do. I think it's Lane Kiffin is leaving Ole Miss and he's going to LSU, or Lane Kiffin is staying at Ole Miss. I think those are the two options. And I really, look, I talked about this on Wednesday with Garland Gillen. You can go back and watch the show later if you want. But as a coach, and he's only 50 years old, okay? That's still young in the grand scheme of things. But as a coach, especially one like Lane Kiffin, who has been coaching as a head coach at multiple places, stops all along his career, how many chances, if you're a guy like that, do you get a chance to win a national championship? How many chances do you get to go to a college football playoff? And I think we all know. I think the most shocking result, if there is a result that we haven't discussed that's a possibility, I think the most shocking result, and something that I don't think is a possibility, but I guess theoretically anything's possible right now, is that if he stays at Ole Miss and they let him coach through the end and let him go to the playoff and just coach this season out and then leave. I can't fathom that's going to happen. If I'm Ole Miss, it's going to be piss off. You know, one thing that Matt Moscone has been saying, and absolutely is true, is Joe Judge is on the staff. If Lane Kiffin leaves, the likelihood is that they're going to say, okay, you can leave now. Thanks. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. And Joe Judge is going to take this team over and take them to wherever. Will it affect their playoff bid? I don't think so. I think Ole Miss is, barring a loss in the Egg Bowl, I think Ole Miss is a lock for the college football playoff. That's just the way that I see it. Whether or not Lane Kiffin is there, it's not like, you know, I've seen the discussion of, well, you know, what about Florida State when they lost that quarterback? This is completely different. And I get that the rules are a little bit different. There's been more clarity that the NCAA is actually going to allow, you know, that those things that happen to affect their decision making on who goes to the playoff and who doesn't. But I would be shocked. I would be shocked if Ole Miss, again, barring a loss I'd be more shocked that Ole Miss doesn't get in the playoff if they win in the Egg Bowl than if they lost the Egg Bowl. Because I'm telling you right now, this soap opera is not over. And even if the announcement comes today that he's staying at Ole Miss, or if he's leaving and most likely then coming to LSU, this soap opera is not over for this year. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's something, and it's going to be soon. You can't wait. And multiple reasons why you can't wait. First off, Ole Miss wants an answer before they play the Egg Bowl. And second, and Garland and I talked about this on Wednesday, look, early recruiting day is coming up in just a couple of weeks. And if you are going to switch coaches, if you're a major program, you kind of have to know who your coach is when you get to that early signing date. Look, we didn't have this early signing date till 6, 7, 8 years ago, something along those lines. It's a big deal now. And when it first started, it's the February signing date was definitely a bigger deal, but it's at least what now. It might be December might be a bigger deal, which is dumb, by the way. That's a whole different story. To have a signing date in December when teams are still in college football playing for the 12 teams are still in the playoff on, going to be 16 before too long. And you're talking about trying to figure out how you're going to sign these recruits. Coaches got other things to worry about. It's crazy to do that in December, in my opinion. Why do we have to have an early signing day? That's a whole different show. Anyway, I got to get to the comments. I got a bunch of them, but I just wanted to tell I wanted to share my thoughts. By the way, Gabe Henderson, breaking news, not the news you want to hear, but Baylor announced that Dave Aranda will not return to the Bears. Announced that, he will return. He will return. You can come. It's okay, Gabe. It's okay. He was like losing his mind when I pronounced that wrong. So breaking news, he will return. Is that really breaking news if someone's going to return? I guess. All right. Anyway, that's not the news anybody wants to hear. Let's get to the comments this morning. Again, if you got a comment, type it in if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. I don't think it comes through if you're watching on Twitter. Gabe, if you want to monitor, somebody types in something on Twitter. I know you got a lot to monitor this morning, but just feel free and you can type it in the comments. Good morning, Brian S. Steve, Dattitude family. Hello. Brian also says, I feel like we have a legitimate chance to have all three of our football teams win the same weekend for the first time since September of 2023. Yeah. Gabe says it does show up. Not in my comment stream. I don't think it does. Maybe. It does? Okay. All right, I believe you. What else we got here? If my mouse will work. Christopher Crump, good morning. Who Dat Friday? Everybody hopefully will stack up another win. We're going to get to the Saints. I'm telling you right now, if you came for Saints talk, it's probably not going to happen until afternoon. The way this show's going to work today, we're going to continue to talk about Lane Kiffin for a little bit. The pick'em crew is going to come on, and we're going to do our picks way quicker than we normally do. It's going to be, we normally spend 20 to 25 minutes on picks. Today's going to be about 10. It's going to be, tell me your picks. Let's move on, because we got a lot of things to talk about. I never really told the crew that today, but that's how it's going to roll. We cannot have if we have a 2-hour show today, it means that there's news on Lane Kiffin, and we're going to have to spend most of it on that. Chad Gage, good morning. Hope everyone's having a great day. So far, so good. I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning, got started, and I still didn't get finished in time. As you saw, the show got started, about 4 minutes late. Apathy, good morning. A Saints win that causes the Falcons coach, the Falcons coach, to get fired. It probably would. Although, if you're Arthur Blank, would you fire a coach after a Saints? Well, they did before. Of course, that one was different. The last time they fired their coach was after a Saints loss. They didn't even hardly let them get back on the plane. That could be 2 in a row. I never even thought about that. The last time they fired a coach, Arthur Smith didn't even have time to get off the plane. I think Blank might have even fired him on the plane. Who the hell knows? But that you got something going. That'd be interesting. S. Callie, good morning. LSU fan base is going banana nuts over. I can't even say that. Sorry. I don't put those 2 words. I can't say it. I'm not saying it. They're going nuts over, people at Ole Miss, whatever. S. Callie's agreeing for me. Doesn't see him coming to LSU. Don't care for him anyway. Again, see, that's part of when I'm reporting this or talking about this, I'm trying not to let my bias creep in to what we know are facts. And what we really don't know a whole lot of facts, okay? Lane Kiffin probably knows the answer, and actually Ole Miss may know the answer, and maybe their meeting today is more about what's going to happen going forward and not so much about what the decisions are. I try not to let my bias, because I've made this clear. Again, I don't understand the hype over Lane Kiffin at all. I don't get it. If you're new to this show, and I know we got to have a lot of new people because we got as many people watching this show live as we've had in quite a while. Not the most ever, but the most we've had in a long time. And I've made it clear, I'm not a Lane Kiffin fan. I don't get it. Sure, he won a national championship. He's a fantastic offensive coordinator. Absolutely. What he's done at Ole Miss the last few years, sure. Great. But it's not just his personality that gets me. It's something about his teams that when it comes down to crunch time, you know why y'all hate it? And again, I'd rather Lane Kiffin over Brian Kelly. I think Lane Kiffin's a better coach than Brian Kelly. However, you know how people bitched about Brian Kelly never being able to win the big game? How many big games in his career? I'll wait. How many big games at Ole Miss or wherever the hell else, USC, Florida Atlantic. How many big games has Lane Kiffin won in the NFL as a head coach? How many games? Name me the biggest, and I don't know the answer to this. If Gabe or UBN, you want to type this in, you can tell me. What is the biggest game, and type it in the comments. What is the biggest game that Lane Kiffin has ever won? I don't know the answer. UBN says 0.0 games. I don't know the answer. Somebody needs to tell me the biggest game. He's 50 years old. It's not like he's not a Dillingham who's 35. He's not a John Sumrall who is, 43, 44, whatever the hell he is. Lane Kiffin's 50. He's been a head coach for a long time in his career already. What, 14, 15 years? I don't know, whatever it is. What's the biggest game Lane Kiffin's ever won? Gabe, this is the best you can do? Okay, it's good, but he beat a healthy Georgia team 28-10 last year. And what did that get him? Nothing. That's my point. Again, I'm trying not to let because I know I'm in the minority. I'm not saying it to be contrarian. I've been saying it for years. If the regulars who have watched this show, but long before Lane Kiffin was ever thought to be possibly coming to LSU. In fact, maybe when Coach O left before and Lane Kiffin, I think his name was mentioned before. Said the same thing then. Say the same thing now. It's no different. I don't feel any different. Gabe says he beat number 10 Penn State in the Peach Bowl the season before. Whoop-de-frickin' do. Who gives a damn? I don't know. Anyway, we're plenty of. There's gonna be plenty on that. Again, type in your comment if you don't agree with me. I'm all about it. Let's get to it. I gotta roll through some of these now. Lewis Jacobson, black on black, baby boy, pluck the Falcons. Absolutely. We're gonna get to Saints again. That Saints talk's probably not coming for another 45 to 50 minutes. One smoke. Lane is the first domino piece to fall for the coaching cycle, but why is he getting all the hate for leaving a team in the playoffs? He's not the only one. I wouldn't give him hate for that necessarily. But I'll say this. How many times do you get a chance to be in the playoffs? If you're Lane Kiffin, you've never gotten a chance. Not as the head coach. I think this is probably the main reason why maybe my gut is telling me that I don't think he's leaving. I mean, let's say he doesn't leave. Let's say he wants to go to bigger and brighter pastures, and he doesn't think Oxford is necessarily the greatest destination on planet Earth. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm not even going to piss on Ole Miss's parade. But you don't think there are going to be big jobs opening up at the end of the 2026 season? It's not like this is the only opportunity he's ever going to get to leave if he wants to leave. I mean, sure, LSU's open now, but what happens if Texas opens next year? If Arch stinks it up next year, Gabe's shaking his head no. You can't shake your head no. If Texas goes 7-5 next year, Sarkisian's gone. It's not out of the realm of the possibility that doesn't happen. I've seen nothing. And look, I'm not saying Arch won't get better next year because I think he probably will. But if Arch stinks, Texas might not be that great next year. I'm saying that's just one opportunity. It's not like this is the final. If he doesn't go to LSU, he's stuck at Ole Miss for who knows how long. No, he's not stuck at Ole Miss. Who knows how long he'd be at Ole Miss? He says he won't get offered the Texas job. I don't want to hear he ain't gonna. I never thought for a million years that LSU would want Lane Kiffin. Okay. If you would have told me last year this time that first of all, I wouldn't believe that Brian Kelly was going to be this bad and that was going to get fired in season. I would have never believed that. But if you would have told me he was going to get fired, I would have told you that nowhere near the top of the list would be Lane Kiffin. Okay. It's not a fit at LSU. But I was wrong. He's obviously LSU. That's their number one choice. It's easy to say. Good morning, Daryl Hayden. Good morning, CWO, USAR. Charles Mangus, good morning. Happy Friday. Earl's Picks. How about them Houston Texans? Josh Allen got his ass whooped last night. And I mean, whooped. If you didn't see that game, 8 sacks. Could have been like 14. How many times there was one point last night where Josh Allen went to the sideline and said, "What the hell are we doing?" Getting your ass whooped. That's what you're doing. Trying to catch up here. King. You hate Atlanta week. Stupid dirty birds. Yeah, for sure. Animator says that Lane Kiffin's not coming to LSU. Ovide Kibido. Good morning. Who dat? Can't wait till Sunday. Man, I hope, I don't know, man. I'm going to put this up because we're probably going to be talking about this a lot coming up. What happens if the Saints lose this week, by the way? I mean, does everything go back to, I said 2 weeks. I'm not pissing on anybody's parade. Nope. Not going to do it. Not yet, anyway. We'll see what happens when my picks come out. But what happens if, I think it's 50-50. Got to be honest. I know the Saints it's going up. Everybody's betting on the Saints this week. How often when's the last time you saw everybody betting on the Saints? And when I say everybody, I mean a collective everybody. I know not everybody is going betting on the Saints. Dylan Smith says he thinks Lane is staying at Ole Miss and just trolling us. I don't think he's trolling LSU. I think he's probably really torn. Now, I think the decision's probably been made already, and we just don't know the answer, and that's why he's meeting with the AD. I don't think he's trolling LSU. I think he genuinely doesn't know what to do. And I get it. It's a tough decision to make. After he said Lane walks, they lose in the Egg Bowl. Vandy wins out both 10-2. Vandy will 100% jump them. Well, I said if they don't lose in the Egg Bowl, if they win the Egg Bowl, they're going to the playoffs, period. Amen. End of story. It's just, that's it. Doesn't matter whether he walks or doesn't walk. They win the Egg Bowl, they're going to the playoffs. They lose the Egg Bowl, they're probably not going to the playoffs. I can't say that they're definitely not going, but they might still go, but I doubt it. UBN says his dream is Kiffin stays, loses the Egg Bowl, misses the playoffs. Yeah, I get it. DeMarcus Hayes says the Saints win. Saints game win and win. Win and win what? Win. Okay, they win. Win. The win-win. Win Dixie. I don't know. Free plug for Win Dixie. They're going out of business, so why not give them a free plug? Randall, good morning. Jay Tucker Rafferty, good morning. Tom, it is Fun Friday. Absolutely it is. Owen Attilio is here. Good morning. Go Saints beat the Dirty Birds. Kyle Sherman, he's here. Good morning, Dattitudinals. Let's go Saints. What else we got? Randall. He beat that. Look, Lane Kiffin beat Georgia last year. Whoop-de-doo. That's fine and dandy. Is that's your signature win? You're 50 years old. You've been coaching since 1947. Okay, I exaggerate. Whatever. You're coaching a long time. Gabe, tell me the first year he was a head coach. No, don't guess. You were like thinking about it. He's going to tell me the first year that Lane Kiffin was the head coach. That's the big, and again, that's a fine win. There's nothing wrong with that win. That's a fine win. It's no different than Brian Kelly beating Alabama a few years ago. 2007-08. That's the first time he was a head coach. He wasn't a head coach at college before then. Okay. That surprises me, actually. I thought it was later than that. So, okay, even so, 07. I mean, that's 18 years ago. Except for the couple of years he was the offensive coordinator. I mean, he's basically been a head coach and mostly in college, but the college and NFL for, 13, 14 seasons? 12 seasons, whatever it is. And you're telling me, again, a good win, a fine win, but the best win he's got is last year against Georgia? Come on, man. Tom says with the NIL college football rosters, we might need a salary cap in the near future. Coaching and recruiting can be a challenge. Yeah, that ain't happening. 14 seasons. He's 116-53. Okay, now tell me Brian Kelly's record. So I'm just trying to compare him to what we've already had. I mean, that's kind of the point. You can't compare Lane Kiffin is so much better than Brian Kelly. Why? What makes Lane Kiffin better? Oh, I'm pissing people off now. There are people throwing stuff at their phones, and how dare you say that Lane Kiffin? There wasn't what, in my opinion, right now. What is? He's going to take him to the playoff. Whoop-de-doo. Brian Kelly, 276. Brian is Gabe. Brian Kelly's not a player's coach. Lane is. Who gives a shit? I don't care about anything but winning. I don't care if they're a player's coach, a mama's coach, administrator's coach, a ticket holder's coach. All I give a rat's ass about is whether they win or not. That's literally the only thing I care about. And you're telling me that Brian Kelly has 200 wins, he's 276. And then Lane Kiffin is 116-53. I mean, that's pretty much what and what. It's what and what. Why? Again, I'm not saying that I would rather, because Brian Kelly needed to go. By no means. For those of you who are new, what is this clown saying? Brian Kelly should have stayed? No. You haven't watched the show. I've been clear on this. There was no question that even though I was surprised about it, Brian Kelly, when he got fired, whatever you want to call it, I almost said another bad word. I'm trying to limit myself to like 4 bad words a day since we're independent now. It was like 2 before, now I've upped it to 4. And you never know when UBN's going to let one slip later, probably. Who knows? But the point is, I mean, so when Brian Kelly was fired, great. He's fired. Should have been fired. Absolutely. You can't do what you did against Texas A&M and survive that. Especially when you're like walking a tightrope anyway. Deserved to be fired, sure. But no one has told me, besides Gabe telling me he's a player's coach and I don't care. What in his past, what has Lane Kiffin done in his past that's better than what Brian Kelly has done in his past? Go ahead, I'll wait. CTB says he makes a lot of bad decisions in game as well. He does. He's one of the, I mean, I agree with that. And I mean, Lord knows he is definitely one of the new breed coaches. Even though he's 50, he is one of the Sirianni / Dan Campbell, go for it on 4th down. But he does it at random times. He's kind of like Sirianni. You never know when he's going to do it or go for 2 or whatever. I don't know. Let's see what else we got here. We're trying to get CTBS wants Dillingham. A lot of people do. A lot of people want Dillingham, and you know, is that going to be the choice if Lane says he's staying at Ole Miss? You know, I've been saying Summerall, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, especially for those who watch me. I still think Summerall would be a great choice, but got to say, I'm all about young coach. Y'all know what I think. I'm for up. Grab the up and young, the young and up, and say that 10 times fast. What the hell am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say. Grab the up and coming coach who's young before, like Jeff Duncan said, grab Summerall, grab Dillingham before somebody else does and beat you with him. Todd Barrios says that the Lane Kiffin was the coach of his son's Pop Warner championship team. Well, that is impressive, Todd. I mean, I get it. You're being facetious. You're right. I did miss that one. Jimmy Radcliffe's here from California. Good morning. Y'all get where I'm going. Hakeem, big dog, what's going on? Kyle Sherman says it depends on how well Shuck plays on whether or not. What do I think about Sunday? Jay Tucker Rafferty wants to know, I'm glad you asked this. What do I think about the black on black uniforms with the black helmets? I'm a fan. I like it. Y'all know me. I don't like anything. I actually like the white helmets with the, like they wore, was it last week or whatever, the game they won. They wore the white helmets with the color rush and the white pants. I thought that was a great combination. I don't like the regular white jerseys with the regular white pants, and that looks stupid. Not that anybody cares. Lance is here. Good morning. Mitch Bergeron. Good morning from Lake Charles. Not sure who will end up being the new coach, but all the chaos scares him. This could become a Jerry World situation like Dallas. Wow. Ron Hendrickson was speaking. Maybe I missed an earlier comment, but good morning, Ron. DeMarcus says Saints win gold now. Win the gold? I don't know. Randall's trying to defend Brian Kelly. I'm sorry, Brian Kelly. What? So of course he is just a hater. The people who are haters, they can't see haters about anything in general. Haters in life, they can't see any other point of view. They won't even consider another point of view. Like, I hate to bring this up. You know what? I'll bring it up. I don't care. Haters can't see any other point of view in life in general. Shedeur Sanders lovers. Did he just bring that up? Absolutely. I just brought it up. If you're a Shedeur Sanders lovers, last week you're making an excuse for one of the worst, and I mean worst NFL. I didn't even know this, but if you take a football, I swear this won't be a long tangent, but if you take a football and you go out there, let's say they put my fat ass in there in a game, my fat old ass into an NFL game. And I took the snap from pistol, and before anybody could hit me, I pumped it into the ground. And I did that 25 times. I was 0 for 25 with 0 yards, 0 interceptions, and my team lost 48-0. My passer rating would be 36.5. Shedeur Sanders' passer rating last Sunday, 13.7 or whatever the hell it was. My point is, if you're a Shedeur Sanders lover, you're going to make excuses for him because I'm out there. I watched it. I looked at it all day Monday. I read through social media Monday, I couldn't believe the stuff that I was reading. And conversely, if you don't like Shedeur Sanders, if he has a 25 for 32 game this week against the Raiders, you're not going to give him any credit. You'll have a bunch of I told you so's from the other side. If you hate one way or hate the other way, it doesn't make a difference what side you're on. You won't. Haters today, that is the biggest problem I have. They won't listen to the other side, and when they're proven wrong, which I'm proven wrong many times, I could be wrong about my Lane Kiffin theory in 23 minutes. The point is, I'm just telling you, you got to be able to see the other side too. And if you're talking about Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin, what has Brian Kelly ever won? Nothing. Right. Except he went to the national championship game as a head coach. Got his ass kicked. But he went to the national championship game as a head coach. So I would dare to say that Brian Kelly has done more than Lane Kiffin in his career. He's got 200 wins. Been coaching forever. Well, we just showed you. Gabe just gave me the number. Been coaching since 2007. 14 years, he said. Okay, that's not as long as Brian Kelly, but not that far off either. The point is, somebody has to prove to me that he's better. Brian Kelly's coached 22 years. Whoop-de-doo. That's 8 more years. Okay. No ring on Kelly's finger. The only ring that Lane Kiffin has came from being a part of Nick Saban's staff. I could have been on Nick Saban's staff and won a national championship with some of those Alabama teams. I'd have a ring on my finger. Big whoop-de-doo. Fat Boy Slim says Lane staying at Ole Miss because they offered him $40 million for NIL, and LSU only offered 35, and that was the holdup. We'll see. We'll see. Gary Davis says he's young and upcoming. Okay, I don't want to contradict myself because I said in the grand scheme, look, 50's young to me. Okay, the grand scheme of things. It's not up and coming. You're not up and coming when you've been a head coach since 2007, if that's who you're talking about. So, Gary, if you're talking about Dillingham, then of course, or you're talking about me fumbling my words. Yeah. So maybe and that's one thing about typing in comments. Sometimes I don't always understand what you're talking about. But you can't say Lane Kiffin is young and upcoming because he's definitely not. Young, debatable. Upcoming, he's been coaching forever. Let's see what else we got. Chris Roth, welcome to the show. Levitt will follow Dillingham to LSU. He's a top 3 NFL pick. Yeah, Arch was a number 1 pick this time last year too. I'm not saying you're not right, Chris, by the way. And LSU, 100%. As soon as they get a coach, priority number 1 after getting a coach is getting a quarterback. Because they don't have one right now. And I mean, they don't have one. Not one. What else we got here as I go on? Trish. All I know about Dillingham is he coached Scatterbo. What do I think about him? Young and upcoming. So yeah, I'm look. If a dude is done what he's done already, and what's he done? Nothing. But he hasn't had a chance to do anything. He's already proven that he and Summerall to me are the 2 guys that I think 15 years from now they're going to be like Kirby Smart is now. That's my opinion. We'll see. All right, 11:40, and I apologize if we haven't. I promise we're going to come back to LSU as soon as Zach is in the stream. But I don't want this show to go too long today, so we're going to do something we don't normally do. If you're new to the show, every Friday we make our picks, our best bets of the week, and our ATS record has been absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, I call it phenomenal. I'm going to bring them in here, and I got to switch all that.
Yeah, thank you.
Pick 'em crew. Yeah, sorry, we give you the black and gold. But again, if we do our picks, and we usually save it for the end, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it first here this morning because again, Zach Ewing is taping it, so he's going to come and it's with what we have in this show in a little bit. First, real quick, you guys, we're going to try to do this segment in about 10 to 12 minutes, and I know that's hard to do, but each of y'all give me your thoughts on where we are right now. I'll start with you, UBN, with LSU.
I'm with you. I don't get the whole Kiffin love. I like Dillingham just because we're gonna get Levitt if Dillingham comes. I got a good question for you. You just mentioned
that's what Sean asks is if it's not Kiffin, who do I want? See what's out there. I haven't done anything either. Yeah, but again, I would rather up and coming is my point. I know Gabe probably disagrees. I don't know for sure, but I'll get to you 1 second. But I would rather have a Dillingham or a Summerall who's up and coming. I know it's not usually LSU's MO, but I think maybe it's different this time. If they don't, not only that, you don't have to give a Dillingham or a Summerall the contract that you're going to have to give Lane Kiffin. We haven't even really talked about that, but you know, all the people bitching about Brian Kelly's contract. What happens if Lane Kiffin sucks 4 years from now, and then you got to have another buyout? And I get it; it's not my money. Who gives a shit? I care. So anyway, I just that's where I'm kind of at right now.
If Lane comes here and does exactly what he did at Ole Miss, he's gonna get fired in 4 years.
I agree. Gabe, tell me why I think you feel differently. If you do, I
absolutely do.
Okay, well,
I couldn't disagree with you guys anymore. I think
that's why
I think the what has he won argument is the dumbest, most surface level thing that you could say. There are 3 coaches in college football who have won anything. If you want Mac Brown to walk through those doors, be my guest because he's won a ring. If you want Coach O to come back because he's won something.
That's absurd.
What did Kirby Smart won before he went to Georgia? What did Ryan Day won before he got to Ohio State?
Kirby Smart wasn't a head coach. Kirby Smart wasn't a head coach for 18 years.
Yeah, you compare apples to oranges. He's been around.
I'm not. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same argument. Just
Kirby Smart is the argument for Dillingham and Summerall.
Nobody has won something until they have. And I actually think Rich brought up a great point in the comments.
Not everybody's had the chances that Lane had. He's been in the league 15 years.
Nick Saban was older than Lane Kiffin before he won anything.
You could see Saban was going to be a coach long. Kiffin's 50 years old. It's not
like
some new guy on the block.
Stevie Wonder.
He's been a head coach since 2007. 2007, he's been a head coach.
So we're now blaming guys for breaking through early.
Okay, so let me just ask you this. Okay, let's just hypothetically he stays at Ole Miss.
It's like a bunch of tennis match.
This isn't going to happen, but let's say he stays at Ole Miss for 10 years. Okay, and he goes, I don't know. He goes to the playoffs 2 times more and doesn't win a national championship. Would it be okay then to say that he hasn't won anything? Or is there a certain time? I want to know what the time limit is. How long do you have to go to say Brian Kelly never won anything? Kelly never won anything.
Nobody's won anything until they have. That's the thing. There's 3 coaches in the country who've won a national title. So if you want to critique Lane Kiffin,
and I'll say he's never even made it to the big game.
That's fine. You can talk about why you don't like him because it's in-game management. But if you're going to knock someone for not having won anything, then you got to knock everyone. You got to knock everyone.
You can't knock
John
a 35-year-old.
Summerall's not won shit in his career.
He's 44 years old or whatever the hell he is. It's a lot different.
He's 6 years younger than Lane Kiffin.
In 2007, I would be willing to bet that John Summerall was probably in college.
What was John Summerall doing for the last 20 years? Lane
Probably in college in 2007, I would guess. I mean, is that ridiculous to think? Let's see.
Who have won national
John
titles.
Summerall was 43 years old. Okay. So in 2007, he was 25 years old and probably was a graduate assistant somewhere. If that, let's see. In 2007, he was the defensive line coach at San Diego. Okay. I think he's come a pretty long way since 2007.
I think Lane Kiffin's come a pretty long way.
Was the coach of the Oakland Raiders in 2007.
Yeah.
And still hasn't done jack crap. All right. Nothing. I love this. I love this talk, but Zach is here and I don't want him to make him wait. So I've actually changed my mind again. We're going to go back and do the pick 'em at the end of the show because I want to get to Zach. I love this take. We may bring this back up before we do this. So hang on, guys.
Can I just say one more thing, Jim?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
I love you. Everyone in the comments is going to be saying, oh, these two hate each other because they get heated. Nope. We love each other, and this is nothing.
They should read our group text.
Yeah, it should. I say this all the time. It's like if y'all was including the commenters, it's like we're sitting in my man cave or Nick's man cave, and we would be talking the same exact way, eating pizza and drinking beer with each other, talking the same way. So anyway, we'll come back to this in a little bit. All right, guys, we'll see you in a minute. All right, again, I want to stick with this because I want to bring in Zach Ewing, who is the NOLA.com, the Times Picayune Advocate, assistant sports editor, also is the Saints editor. But we're going to obviously start with LSU today. We may have breaking news at some point in the show. I doubt it, but it's possible. Anyway, Zach, just your take on, I don't know how much you heard and how much you didn't hear, but your take on the whole Lane Kiffin situation. I'm on the record. It still feels weird. I could be proven wrong as soon as 13 minutes from now, but it doesn't feel. It's weird. I just still don't believe that he's coming, and I won't believe it till I say it.
I mean, I actually think in a lot of ways he's the perfect fit for LSU. He's a younger guy. He's kind of brash. He's got this attitude, this personality. I think that will resonate with LSU fans. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think Florida is still a legitimate threat. I find it increasingly unlikely that he stays at Ole Miss, but I'm starting to come around to the idea that he's just the guy and he wants to be here and LSU wants him here and it's just going to happen.
I hear you, but when you say, I mean, you think of him as this new age coach, I guess, but again, I'm going to repeat what the question of what I said to Gabe. I mean, he's 50. He's been a head coach except for a few years where he was offensive coordinator for Nick Saban and obviously won a national championship. But he's 50. He's been a head coach since 2007. So he's been a head coach for 14 years. And yet the biggest win that we can say that he has are 2 things. Georgia last year, good win, great win. Probably, barring if he stays at Ole Miss, barring the unforeseen, is going to take Ole Miss to the playoffs. So this year. So both of those things, fantastic, great. But what makes him that much different than Brian Kelly?
Well, he's younger. He's done it in the SEC. He's shown that he can do it in the NIL era.
He's shown he's going to do what? What can he do?
Compete for the playoff. Jim, he's doing it at a school that has far fewer resources than LSU. He's number 6 in the country. Is he number 5 or 6 in the country? Certainly you would think he can at least match that at LSU, given a little bit of time and some commitment, from the program, which I think they're willing to give him. You can't you can't look at it on paper and tell me it's a bad hire. That doesn't mean it's going to work out.
I didn't necessarily say it was a bad hire. That's not where I'm getting at. What I'm getting at with Kiffin is I think it's a weird fit for LSU. And again, as much as there's all sorts of things that fit into this. But again, I'm also gonna repeat what I said about the contract part of this. Okay. I think there's a decent chance. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but again, you're talking about a situation where if you bring Lane Kiffin in, you have to make him the highest paid coach in college football. I don't think there's any doubt. No matter whether he stays at Ole Miss or whatever, he's going to, or go to Florida even, which I think is very unlikely at this point. But no matter what happens with Lane Kiffin, very soon he's going to be the highest paid coach in college football, barring a return to the pros, which I don't think is going to happen either. And so you're just getting out of this whole mess. You're not even getting it. You're right in the middle of this mess. There's a report this morning that NOLA.com had about, I didn't have a chance to read it, but you can tell me more about it. They're actually going to, we know that Kelly's going to be fired. He is fired or whatever, but I think they're going for to show the just cause or whatever. But you're going to have to pay Brian Kelly in all likelihood the remainder of his contract. Now, if you go with Lane Kiffin in 3-4 years, we're back here in the same situation, you're going to have to do this all over again. I mean, so you're going to have to do this. You haven't learned any lessons. Fans and everybody out there saying you can't do this contract again, but here we are saying you got to do this contract again because we really want Lane Kiffin.
Yes, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see the highest paid coach in the country from an average annual value perspective. It will be a somewhat shorter contract, though, because LSU is aiming to keep the buyout down. As you said, they're trying to stay out of the mess they're in with Brian Kelly. And that's how you would do that, is say, okay, we'll give you $15-16 million a year, but it's a 4-year deal. So if we want to fire you in 3 years, the buyout is only going to be $16 million. It's not going to be 50. That's the idea.
My friend Pepper Martin, I don't know where he got this info, what site he used. Again, this is pure speculation, but he says, he's coming, Jim. He texted me. It was done last night in Dallas. Okay. Why would it be done in Dallas?
So that people couldn't track the flight and say, oh, there's another plane on the way from Oxford to Baton Rouge. You pick a third-party location that would be easy for both parties to get to, major airport, and get it done and fly back.
Shane Bergeron, my friend Shane. How about a Miller Pony there, Shane? And we got one for you. First off, I don't think he's coming. Second, I'm not sure it's a great fit. It's a big splash hire. He's done well at Ole Miss. I agree. I just don't want them to get another situation like Brian Kelly if it doesn't work out, just my opinion.
Who is a great fit? Who is a great fit in your opinion?
I would rather someone. First of all, there's no sure things. You and I both agree on that, right? I
agree.
So I think that LSU is in a position to where they would be better off hiring someone young, up and coming, and pay less money for a guy like John Summerall or a guy like Kenny Dillingham. I just think, to me, that is a better situation for LSU. And like Duncan said, you get one of these guys, especially, he was talking about Summerall when he said this, but you get a guy like Summerall, or you face them as soon as next year. That's what I would rather.
But you're going to face Lane Kiffin next year also. I mean,
true, and I'm not scared of Lane Kiffin. I'm just not.
Here's the thing. I like John Summerall. I think he's going to be a good coach. If you look at the two candidates side by side and you say, okay, Summerall versus Kiffin, you can't tell me that John Summerall is a better hire than Lane Kiffin. You just can't tell me that. He's younger by 7 years? Okay, so he's younger. He's cheaper.
Sure, I can.
But it ain't my money. So why do I care that he's a little bit cheaper? You're still going to have
Gabe Henderson.
You're still going to have to outbid Auburn for him. You're still going to have to outbid possibly.
But okay, that's fine. It's not my money. But we keep saying it's not my money, yet people were bitching till the cows came home about Brian Kelly's buyout. That's all we heard for like days and days and days about Brian Kelly's buyout. Again, all of a sudden, nobody gives a damn about a buyout.
You can keep the buyout down by making the contract shorter. That's where you keep the buyout down.
But he might not come if you make a contract shorter.
If you give him enough per year, you can. Now, The point is, Lane Kiffin is going this year. Now, if he stays at Ole Miss, he could go this year to where LSU wants to be. They want to be in the college football playoff every year, or 75% of the time, let's say. Lane Kiffin is showing you that he can do that. With John Sumrall, it's still a wish and a prayer. You think he can get you there, but he hasn't shown it yet. Now, he may get there.
Lane's done it one time in 14 seasons as a head coach. Big whoop.
Well, okay. There's only been a 12-team playoff for one season. So
right, and if there wasn't a 12-team playoff this year, he wouldn't be in it.
If you had a 12-team playoff, I'd have to go back and look at what he did at USC. I don't even remember if they finished in the top 12 one of those years. They might have. Nobody paid attention to it because there was no 12-team playoff. But my point is that he is proving to you that at a school with fewer resources, with a stadium that holds barely more than half as much as Tiger Stadium, with a fan base that is smaller, that he knows how to get you to the playoff. Now, I'm not saying that
10-2 at USC in 2011.
Say that again.
He went 10-2 at USC in 2011, and they were ranked 6th in the AP poll at the end of the season. They didn't
had there been a 12-team playoff, he would have made it.
They didn't go to a bowl game for some reason that year.
Were they banned? Maybe was that
fallout?
Well,
they were banned, and they couldn't go to the playoffs then.
Well,
they were, then they couldn't.
That's not Lane Kiffin's fault.
Yeah, but they still wouldn't have gone to the playoff.
You understand my point.
Other than that, his best records were at Ole Miss. He was in 2021. He was 10-3, lost in the Sugar Bowl. So he was 10-2 pre. They might have gone to the playoff in 2021. They were 11th. They finished 11th in the AP poll. And then last year, we know they missed it because they went 10-3. And
you know what I'm saying? Like, could John Sumrall end up being a Hall of Fame coach? Yes, he could. But we don't know that yet. With Kiffin, he's already proven to you that he can do it. Dillingham, I'll listen to. Dillingham took Arizona State to the playoff last year. Now, it was a weird situation. It was a Big 12 where there was like a 5-way tie, and they had to win a tiebreaker to get into the Big 12 game and everything. And he also had a guy in Cam Scatterbo who doesn't come around very often, who was sort of the emotional leader of that team. I just think if you line them up side by side and you say, okay, money's not an object, which of these candidate A, candidate B?
Money's not an object, though. It is part of the decision-making process.
Maybe. I mean, I guess on some level it is. But if I'm operating from the standpoint of, we know LSU has enough money to hire Lane Kiffin. If they didn't, they wouldn't be talking. The conversations would not have gotten this far. So from that standpoint, money is not an object. They have enough money to get this done. So if that's the case, and you just purely want the best coach, and you say, okay, blind resume, candidate A, candidate B, candidate C, the resume that's going to win hands down every time, 100% of people will agree, is Lane Kiffin's resume.
100% of people are not going to agree.
How can you not?
Because I've looked and seen what. And first of all, you can't just take numbers. You can't just take numbers and put numbers from his records and what he's done. I always talk about eye tests as a coach. I just don't think he's that great of a coach, period. I think he's an average at best in-game coach. I mean, he's a great play caller, but other than that, I mean, we've got a lot of great play callers in the game. And that doesn't mean they're great head coaches. And I just don't think he's been great on fourth down. That has nothing to do with that. I'm sure Dillingham probably goes for. I have no idea whether Kenny Dillingham goes for it and forth. I'm guessing he does. He's 35 years old. This is new football. I've already accepted that they have bastardized the game of football, and it ain't changing anytime. It's not going back. It's only going forward. I understand. Mitch Bergeron says, by the way, I think the source of my thoughts on Kiffin is that he's an arrogant jerk that rubs me the wrong way. I agree, but he's NIL friendly, aggressive, and a very good recruiter. He's a better coach now. Maybe he is a better coach now. And again, I've said this before. I've said this to you. I've said this on the show. I said it with Garland the other day. I am trying not to let my bias get into. Look, I have to give my opinion. It's what I do in the show. There's a reason why it's called Dattitude. I mean, it's not. I'm not going to come on here and just read news to you like we're on, ESPN News, and it's every half hour I'm going to give you the news. No, I'm going to give you my opinion. So, but I'm trying not to let that get in the way of what facts are. And so maybe he is a better coach now than he was 5 years ago. I would hope so. I mean, he's definitely done he's done a good job at Ole Miss. I'm not taking that away from him, but to me, Ole Miss and LSU are two different things, and we just came out of a situation where you had a coach that was supposed to be good. Earl's Pick says Deion is coming if he made Shador look good. Imagine what he could do with a good quarterback.
That is a good point. It takes a lot to make Shador look good.
Deion's not going anywhere.
I don't think that's a serious comment.
Anyway, Lauren Hamilton says, need the long contract, the allure of being a fired LSU head coach. I mean, Bill says you can't lose at LSU. And so, I mean, what UBN and I have been talking about is what Lane Kiffin's done at Ole Miss is fine and dandy. But if he does that exact same thing at LSU, you take that 5-year stretch at Ole Miss and you shift it to LSU, I'm not saying he'll do the same. Maybe he'll do better. I don't know. Maybe he'll do worse. But if you take that same stretch, then people are wanting to fire him because they're antsy, and the LSU fans are the most antsy fans on planet Earth.
You can't, but you can't just say, if he does the same thing, he'll get fired again. You have to compare him to other possibilities that you could hire. And who else are you going to hire? Okay. Mm-hmm. Is Lincoln Riley on your list? Lincoln Riley hasn't done any better than Lane Kiffin.
No, I would rather Lane Kiffin.
Again, Summerall.
At least Lane Kiffin's got balls. Lincoln Riley left to get out of the SEC.
Summerall has shown lots of promise. I mean, there's a lot of coaches who show promise and then they step up to the big time and can't get it done. I think Summerall will be fine.
Here's an interesting comment. We got an interesting comment here from James Piner. Welcome to the show, by the way. I hope you subscribe and give us a like. As an Ole Miss fan, I don't care if Lane leaves, only worried about what players he takes with him. That's an interesting point. But do you really believe, look, and James, I'm not getting on you, but do we really believe that Ole Miss fans don't care if he leaves or not? But if that's true, if he doesn't care, then that kind of says a lot as well.
I think emotionally they just want this to be over. That's if I was an Ole Miss fan, that's where I would be at. It's like, hey, just tell me, just let me enjoy my team in the playoff, whether you're going to be the coach, whether there's going to be an interim coach, and then we move on.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a Florida fan, I guess. Well, we got fans from all over. We appreciate you watching. Florida, and somebody else was saying Florida is out of the running. That's why, in fact, I'll show this one. Lauren was saying Florida is out of the running. But Florida native 7553 says, LOL, Florida is still in the running. What are you talking about? The UAA plane was just in Oxford. Laughing.
I don't know what UAA means, but yeah, Florida's still in the running. They're
You do think they're still in the running?
I think they're in it. Ultimately,
Brandon, by the way, Brandon Clark says Florida met with him yesterday evening. Whoever's giving info is a mistake.
Ultimately, I think if you look at the LSU job and the Florida job, we actually did this on the LSU Insider yesterday. We had our the advocate prep writer for Baton Rouge is a young guy named by the name of Jackson Reyes, who went to Florida, and he covered the football team for the Daily Alligator when he was there. And this was just a few years ago. He's young. He's only 24, 25 years old. It's just a couple of years ago. And he presented the argument for why Lane Kiffin would consider Florida, while our beat writers presented the argument for why Lane Kiffin would consider LSU. So it's an interesting listen. You can go find it on the LSU Insider channel. But I do think that there's an argument to be made for Florida. Lane Kiffin's ex-wife went to Florida, I believe. And there's another family connection there as well. I can't remember exactly. And you say his ex-wife, they're co-parenting. They're still very much involved in each other's lives. It's not like it's just something in the past. So I think there is an argument to be made for Florida. I think if you just look at the jobs, what LSU has been able to do in the last even 10 years compared to what Florida has been able to do. And I think some of the questions you have about LSU as far as alignment and university presidents or state government meddling, those same things exist at the University of Florida. So I don't think that it's so much better from that perspective. They're both good jobs. I don't know. I mean, it comes down to personal preference. It sure seems to me like LSU has the momentum in this thing.
I would think so. Slow Who Dat, good morning. Halek, good morning from California. Happy Friday and good Thanksgiving week. We're going to be busy here during Thanksgiving week. We're going to stay on our schedule next week. It's going to be very interesting. And here's how, the Ole Miss fan says 90% chance LSU, 10% Ole Miss, 0% Florida. And then Stent Placer, welcome to the show, says 0% LSU, 100% Florida. I mean, the point is no one's going to know anything for sure until we actually get to an announcement. And again, we're going to, I think one way or the other, wouldn't you think we would know something at least at some point today?
I'm going to say by the end of the weekend. I don't know if it'll definitely come out today.
I mean, they're going to have this meeting. No one's going to be able to hold this a secret, what happened in this meeting.
I mean, if he's staying at Ole Miss, I think it's going to come out today. If he's going to LSU or Florida, we may get news today that he's not staying at Ole Miss, but we might not get news as to where he's going until early next week or through the weekend. But yeah, I do think that the news is coming sooner rather than later.
Daniel Maples, an Ole Miss fan. Well, we welcome you. We're not Ole Miss fans necessarily here. Well, some of us don't care one way or the other. Some of us aren't not Ole Miss fans. But Daniel, we absolutely appreciate you being here, and we'll even give you a little red and blue love right there. All right. Gabe Henderson says an important note: Ole Miss returned to practice on Sunday. That's when they begin to practice for Egg Bowl prep. So I think we have to know. Daniel, by the way, the Ole Miss fan says he thinks he's going to Baton Rouge. I think most Ole Miss fans probably think that that's where he's going. He's going to Baton Rouge before we start moving on and talking about some other things here. What do you think?
If I had to guess, I'm guessing Lane Kiffin. I'm not at the point where I'm 100% sure or anything near that, but at this point, yes, if I had to guess, that's what I'm guessing.
Look, and I said this early in the show, every piece of reporting an Ole Miss fan says, and it's a great point, they're just what you said, they're just tired of the circus. They just kind of want it to be over with. And look, I hear you. And I can feel for Ole Miss fans with that for sure. Daniel says they would gladly take John Summerall. And again, let's jump real quick to Tulane very quickly. And for those of you new here, we're going to come back to LSU. We still got to talk Saints as well. But what we do on Fridays, with Zach and I do, we talk LSU, we preview LSU, Tulane, and the Saints games coming up this week, and we make our predictions. So let's jump to Tulane very quickly. The Wave, talking about John Summerall, controls its own destiny. They've been a very up and down team. They go to Temple. This line has risen. The odds makers, not the odds makers, the fans out there, the people with the money, are betting on Tulane. It was -8.5 for Wednesday's show. It's -9.5 this morning. They're 9.5-point favorite over Temple, although 8.5, 9.5, not that much. That's not a big of a difference when you're talking about 8 to 9. But just your thoughts on Tulane. And look, you think there's any distractions? I asked you this last week, but you think there are distractions at Tulane with the possibility of John Summerall? Obviously, it's all it's been talked about, and he doesn't have to talk about it as much as like a Lane Kiffin does, but I think everyone knows that John Summerall is coaching his last couple of games at Tulane.
Yeah, and maybe that part of it makes it not a distraction or less of a distraction. Maybe the players are just, hey, we're all locked in on these last 2 games, 3 games, maybe if he stays to coach the conference championship game, and then, Coach Summerall is leaving, and we're all going to go off on our own separate ways. But while we're here together, let's lock in and do this. The game next week, what do they play? Charlotte next week. It's right. It's a gimme. I mean, that's like the easiest game on Tulane's schedule, just about. So this is really it for them. You got to go up to Temple. Kind of a weird environment there sometimes, like because it's an urban school. The support, it's not a traditional school, but sometimes they do get big crowds up at Temple. Like, this is tricky. And I saw Gabe say in the private chat that he likes Temple in this spot. And I since I gave you my pick, I've kind of come around to that way of thinking. I think if I had to pick right now, I would take Temple with the points. That's not what I did, but
you're giving spoiler alerts.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's a spoiler, but I do think Tulane's gonna have to fight for this one. I think it could be a game where you get off to a slow start. You have to answer. A lot of people around the American Conference going to be rooting against Tulane. We'll see how they handle it.
C15 Shull says he's an LSU alum and he's tired of the circus. Lauren says just here for the drama, don't care about Ole Miss, Florida, or LSU. Well, we thank you for being here regardless. All right, so again, the Wave controls its own destiny. Man, does John Summerall's stock just shoot in the orbit even more? I guess we would know the answer. Look, unlike Ole Miss, if John Summerall takes a job elsewhere, I would be shocked if Tulane doesn't let him coach the route, especially if they go to a playoff game.
Well, I don't know if John Summerall's new school would want that, though. That's really what it's going to come down to, is if they come in and say, we want to hire you, but listen, you're going to need to start. The early signing period is next week, or not. Well, it's the week after Thanksgiving. It's December the 2nd. So it's in a week and a half. And then, of course, you got to get to work on the transfer portal and stuff. I don't know if you want to wait for Tulane to play on the 19th or 20th. And if you're John Summerall, you like at some point in your heart of hearts, you have to look at it realistically and say, okay, we're going to go to Lubbock, Texas, or we're going to go to Oxford again for a rematch with Ole Miss in a game we have very little chance at winning. So do I want to stick around and possibly cost myself a chance at another job, or do I want to be coaching that game as a lame duck and not giving my full attention to my new job, or do I just want to walk away and and start my next chapter?
Yep. All right. It's our picks time for Tulane because we got to move on. I want to get it back to LSU, and we still got Saints to talk about, and the Pick'em crew is waiting back there. Today's going to be a long show. Your pick this week, the Wave controlling its own destiny. They've been up and down. Your pick says that Tulane will cover, but you say you're rethinking it.
Yeah, I've kind of changed my mind. I mean, obviously, I was very close to the number anyway. I think Temple gives them a game here. Ultimately, I think Tulane probably pulls it out. The team with a lot more on the line generally does. But Temple's a salty team, man.
Yeah, I hear you. Zach, by the way, officially has his pick as Tulane 35, Temple 24, but is sort of backing off of that a little bit. I'm not going to back off. I've been wrong about Tulane a lot this year as far as against the spread, not necessarily straight up, although I've missed them a couple of times too. Up and down team. Look, I hope that they're feeding off of what they've done the last couple of weeks and not. I like that UTSA game keeps in my skull over and over again, and it's hard to get it out of there. But I'm going to pick Tulane to win 39-13. Ooh. Temple has had trouble scoring at times, and we'll see.
What was the last time Tulane gave up less than 14 points to anybody?
I don't know. It's going to happen here.
Been a while.
Yeah. All right. Going back to LSU and our thoughts about the game this week, and I did not make a slide for actually just the LSU game, but they're playing Western Kentucky. This line is going down. Bettors are betting on Western Kentucky. I think it opened at 24.5. It quickly dropped to 23.5, and now it's down all the way in 2 days from 23.5 to 21.5. And LSU just right now, I don't know that their heart's in anything. It feels like kind of the end of the Coach O days, and they are now bowl eligible and have a chance to win. Getting to win number 7. But Western Kentucky's a pretty good football team.
Western Kentucky, I believe, is favored to win Conference USA right now. But they're physically outmatched in this game, of course. I will say, I thought LSU played hard against Arkansas. I was at that game, and I was kind of waiting to see, how much fight they were going to have in them after losing to Alabama and everything sort of officially being off the table. A lot of these guys don't even know that they'll be back with LSU beyond next week. So I think that they're going to play hard, and I think that's enough to win this game rather easily. I will say I don't understand the number. I saw the comment you just showed from Chris. How's LSU covering? They've covered that many points against one team all year.
Because it's Western Kentucky, and people who don't know any better, average Joe better doesn't know any better. And they're going to – I bet this is a game where I'd be willing to bet that the cash is on LSU and the number of tickets is going to be on – I mean, the cash is on Western Kentucky and the number of tickets can be on LSU.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, people just look at it and say, oh, it's LSU against Western
Kentucky. Right, exactly. Only 3 touchdowns. It's Western Kentucky.
They haven't scored more than 26 points all year except against Southeastern. What are they going to – they're going to shut them out and win 24-0? That's about the only way they cover this number.
All right, well, it's pick'em time. And Zach's pick, he's going to take LSU 34-19.
Yeah, it's 34-19. It's best offensive performance of the season. I think Michael Van Buren will look pretty good. I don't see any way they're covering that number without a couple of defensive scores.
Charles says LSU wins by 7. If you want to make your picks in the comments, please feel free to do so. I'm going to make my pick now. I'm going to say 31-17. Look, and I might be generous saying LSU is going to score 31 points. I would actually take I think I like the under in this game. I wouldn't surprise me at all if LSU won like 24 to, I don't know, 14 or 24 to 17 or whatever. So I'm going to go 31-17. But again, I don't think LSU covers either. Daniel Maples, the Ole Miss fan, thinks Western Kentucky wins the game. I just, this is look. It's going to be who gives a damn the rest of the way. And I still want to see Nuss play one more game in an LSU uniform, but he might not want to. Mark Gapsky said LSU by 14. You've been copying off my paper, Mark Gapsky. So
yeah, we're all right around there, aren't we? Scott Rabelais asked me after the Arkansas game what I thought the point spread would be against Western Kentucky. And he said, I think it'll be like 10.5. And I said, it'll be more than that. I think it'll be 13.5 or 14.5. It'll be half a point on either side of 14. I did not expect this. So I'm super confused by this line because Western Kentucky, as you mentioned, is 8-2. They're going to come in here with a lot of momentum, a lot of juice, saying here's a chance for us to have like kind of a famous win. So LSU's, I'm not putting them on upset watch, but this is the type of game where if you sleepwalk, you could find yourself in a game in the second half.
You say that, and Chris says he wants to do a parlay with the Western Kentucky money line with the Saints and the Browns defense over the bad Raiders at 49-1.
Chris, friends don't let friends bet on sports.
Daryl Hayden says LSU 27 under the total. Oh my goodness. Anyway, all right. Let's we're gonna get back to LSU with the Pick'em crew in a little bit. And I'll probably go out on LSU. And again, it's the meeting has begun. It's a possibility. I don't think it's gonna happen, but we could have breaking news here on the show. We'll see if we do or not. Before we go on, let's see. Lawrence points out that Western Kentucky lost to Toledo and Florida International, FIU. So let's be real. I'm not betting on LSU to lose, but I don't think they come out with a lot of fire, and we'll see. Anyway, all right, moving on. Talking about the New Orleans Saints this week, and I don't know that how long it's been since we've done a show during football season that wasn't a bye week, and it took us an hour and 12 minutes to get to the New Orleans Saints. But for the first time,
the Saints were favored against the Giants, weren't they? Just looking at your graphic.
I don't think so.
They started the week as dogs, but it flipped.
Did it? I thought they were 1.5-point dogs.
I don't know. Gabe can look it up for us.
Gabe, look it up if you get a chance. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Anyway, point is, they certainly haven't been 2.5-point favorites. 2.5-point favorites. What? Saints are 2.5-point favorites over the Atlanta Falcons. Is this a good line?
I'm a little surprised it's certainly not going to touch 3, I don't think. If it does, you'll see some Atlanta money. This is more a reflection to me of how much the market has soured on Atlanta. And that's injuries. That's Michael Penix obviously out for the season, but also to me, just as big of a deal, Drake London's out. So Kirk Cousins does not have that security blanket, doesn't have that big play ability. And then also, I was looking at this. The Falcons had their bye, I believe, in week 5. They had an early bye. They played Monday Night Football the week after that and beat Buffalo. Very impressive win. Looked like they were a playoff contender. Since then, they flew to San Francisco on a short week, lost to the 49ers, flew back home, got trounced by the Dolphins, flew up to New England, lost a close game there, flew back to Atlanta for a home game, flew to Berlin, then flew back to Atlanta. Like, this is a tired football team. And I think you're starting to see that. Their injury list, if you look at the published injury reports, you need like page 2. They've got 20 guys on the injury report. Some of them are going to play, but they're all banged up. You don't have Penix. You don't have London. You have a coach who may be a lame duck. I'm not sure what he could do at this point to save his job, barring out like winning out and getting back into the playoff hunt. I'm very down on the Falcons right now, and I think that's what the market has shown with this move.
By the way, you're correct, and my graphic is incorrect. The Saints were 1.5-point favorites going into the game over the New York Football Giants. That was also, I believe that was Jackson Dart's second start or first start?
The second start, but Malik Neighbors had been hurt the week before. So I think that's partly why the line moved.
Okay, so it is not. I am stand corrected again. I told you we admit when we're wrong here. Saints are favored for the second time in 2025. Ignore that graphic, but they have not been 2.5-point favorites. There you go. I should have said that. Largest favorite of the year. I think this line before this same time last week, the Falcons were a 2.5-point favorite. So to go from 2.5 favorite to 2.5-point underdog to change 5 points. That's kind of crazy. And look, I think, I don't know, you can agree or disagree, but I think Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix at this stage right now are what and what. I still think Michael Penix is going to be a good NFL quarterback, but Michael Penix hasn't played very well. And again, I don't think there's that much difference between the two.
Maybe not. Kirk Cousins might just be cooked, though. Yeah. He might just be old and over the hill. And
Sean wants to know, will Kirk Cousins find the fountain of youth against the Saints defense?
If he does, I need to know where it's at, because that would be a powerful fountain of youth. No, I don't like. Also, the move from 5 points from -2.5 to +2.5 is not. It's not like moving from
not as big as it used to be.
Because moving from -1.5 to +1.5 is more like a 1-point move.
Right. That's true.
Not that many games end on 1, and certainly hardly any games end in a tie. So it's not as big of a move as it sounds like. But I don't know. I think the Saints are rightfully favored. Do you think so?
No. I think it should be. I wouldn't make this. I would make this line dead even. That's what I would make the line. I would literally make it dead even. I would think, to me, the Saints would be I would put them at probably a 3.5-point dog in Atlanta, and make him dead even in the dome. That's about right, I guess. Chris Roth says Saints are about to get a second Atlanta coach fired. In two of the last 3 seasons, Raheem is worse than Dennis Allen. He might be. And it would be interesting. We talked about this earlier before you came on, Zach, but it certainly would be interesting if Raheem Morris loses this game and then does get fired. 2 coaches in a row that got fired right immediately after the Saints game. Does he get fired if they lose this game?
It has a little bit of that Dennis Allen feel to it from last year.
Sure does.
When they went to Carolina and they were like, okay, if you can't beat Carolina, you're going to be gone. Raheem Morris, if you can't beat New Orleans, you're going to be gone. It has a little bit of that feel to it. I don't know where Arthur Blank's head is at. It's only Morris' second year. You have the injuries as kind of an excuse. I mean, you and I have said this from the beginning. I'm not like Raheem Morris, the hire from the get-go.
Terrible hire.
I don't think he's a good coach.
Daniel says they can hire Lane Kiffin.
He's like DA. He is just better served as a coordinator. And I don't know. I don't know if the timing is now or if you just wait a few weeks and do it at the end of the season. How much difference does it make? But
it's no, never. They gotta. I would have fired him already, but that's just me. Real quick, I just put the rankings up there. You know me, I make a slide. I at least want to talk about it. But the thing that sticks out, if you're looking at season rankings, one against the other, the Saints are 9th in the league in passing defense against the Falcons. 18th ranked offense and passing offense. And maybe if you think Kirk Cousins isn't as good as Penix, you got to take a couple of numbers off that. I think the Saints have the edge in passing. They actually, I can't believe I'm saying that. Saints actually have the edge passing defense against the Falcons offense. Where they don't have the edge, Zach, though, is, and I know that says it's not that big of a difference. Rushing defense, the Saints are 21st against the Falcons are 13th, but they are really going to have to lean on Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier this week.
If you're the Falcons, don't you just try to run the ball 40 times? I mean,
absolutely, you do.
You have to get out to a lead at some point to continue.
Especially Drake London not playing. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I think you run Bijan and then Algier when Bijan needs a blow as many times until the Saints prove that they can stop it. Now, you would have said the same thing about the Carolina Panthers 2 weeks ago. Run Rico Dowdle until the Saints prove that they can stop it, and they did.
Stopped it. Yeah.
And so then Bryce Young had to try to win the game, and he was unable to do that. So the Saints, I think, have some hope to stop that team. But, yeah, that's the clear thing. And then the other guy I'll mention is Kyle Pitts, who I know is kind of a punchline. Like, well, nobody, he hasn't lived up to the hype. Everybody thought he was going to be the next coming. He's been nothing. He has had some big games against the Saints in the past. And without Drake London in there, and Kirk Cousins' diminished arm strength, whatever you may say about that, like I think Kyle Pitts becomes a factor too.
Well, we've been saying Kyle Pitts is going to be a factor for like the last 3.5 years, and he hasn't done jack squat.
Every now and then he is.
Someone has had him in fantasy For some reason, I keep get him in fantasy, and he keeps being a bum. So I had to use him last week because Tyler Warren was on a bye. But anyway, nobody cares about my fantasy team. All right, real quick before we get to our picks, obviously we haven't talked about Tyler Shuck yet. Do you think that Tyler Shuck continues the feel-good story, or do you think that the Carolina game was just a got lucky?
I don't think he got lucky. I do think the matchup's a little bit different. One thing, the Falcons are second in the NFL in sacks. They have 34 sacks as a team. And by the way, on the other side of the ball, they've only allowed 14 sacks. So I think the Broncos are the only team with a bigger differential than that. They get after the quarterback. They mortgaged their future to draft 2 edge rushers in the first round last year in Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. Both of those guys are playing well. Old friend Caden Ellis is playing well. 34 sacks. I mean, they will get after Shuck. And so to me, it's the same conversation on the other side of the ball. The Saints need to get out to a lead. They need to run the ball. Pierce and Walker are both kind of undersized defensive ends. You can run on this team. If you can't run on this team and they can pin their ears back, that's going to be, Tyler Shuck running for his life like it was against the Rams. Different story.
Before we get to our predictions, and I agree with everything you said. And I think this is a very interesting week. You don't want to put too much into what's going on early in a career. So whether he has a really good day again or he has a bad day, don't put too much stock into this. Again, it's still, when this game is done, assuming he makes it through the whole game, it will only be 14 quarters of football in his NFL career. So I'm not going to put too much stock in. Now, granted, if he looks as good as he looked 2 weeks ago, then you can't help but get a little excited if you're a Saints fan. But if he looks bad, which is a possibility, you can't get that upset about it either. Again, just starting out, we got a long way to go to figure out what's going on with Tyler Shuck. All right, some predictions from the Dat family here this morning or this afternoon now. Daryl Hayden, Saints 33-13. Now that's, man, I haven't seen this kind of hope in a long time. Charles Mangus says he's going to have a high passing yardage with 2 interceptions. Possibility. Brian S. Steve says 28-3 Saints. Never forget. Okay. Mark Gapsky says Saints by 10. Infantryman says happy Friday. It's Falcons hate week. Let's see what else we got. Got any more before I go? If you want to get your Saints prediction in, now is probably the time. Oh, Charles Mangus wants to know why it's a late game in NOLA. It's because of TV. They had to have 2 games at 3:25. The national game is, what's the national game this week? I forget.
Eagles Cowboys.
So about 85% of the nation is getting Eagles Cowboys.
Even Shreveport's getting Eagles Cowboys. I know.
Even Shreveport's getting Eagles Cowboys.
Shreveport is kind
correct.
of just as much Cowboys country as it is Saints country, I think.
All right. Charles Mangus says Saints 21-10. Chad Gage says Saints 24-21. He adjusted his initial prediction because sometimes we make quarterbacks like Cousins look like all-stars. That is absolutely true. DeMarcus says Saints win. All right. It's time for Zach's prediction this week, and Zach's taking the New Orleans Saints 20-16.
I am. I can't believe I'm picking them 2 games in a row, and I have a reasonable amount of confidence in it, although this is just the kind of game bad teams lose, man. They come home and you think everything is solved and they can't figure it out. One thing I was thinking about, the Saints haven't played a game. They early in the season, it seems like every game they were playing was kind of coming down to the wire. The first 2 did against the Cardinals and 49ers. They haven't had one like that since then. If you think about it, there's been some reasonably close ones, but they were either comfortably ahead in the end against the Giants and Panthers, or they've been behind by so much that you didn't really have hope against everybody else. I think this one is different. This one may come down to the final 5 minutes in the fourth quarter. We'll either see what Tyler Shuck is made of in a comeback situation, or we'll see if the Saints defense can hold up against a wounded Falcons offense at the end. So I think it's going to come down kind of to the wire. You might see a lot of field goals in this game. Teams having trouble getting it into the end zone. Ultimately, at home, I think the vibes will be pretty good in the Dome. Tyler Shuck's first home start, coming back off the bye, off the victory. I think you probably see the best vibes from the home fans that you did probably since week 1, and that may just lift the Saints. Yeah,
interestingly enough, the Saints go back on the road for, In fact, I'll put it up very quickly. But if you look at the schedule, they go back on the road for 2 in a row after this one. They only have 2 more home games left after this game. They go to Miami in week 13, go to Tampa Bay in week number 14. So, look, I said I wasn't going to piss on anyone's parade for 2 weeks. But this is the kind of game as a handicapper and taking my bias out as best as I can. This just feels like a Falcons win. The Saints, I think, there's been so much positivity, and it's like now everyone thinks the Saints can't do anything wrong. They're playing the Falcons, the hated Falcons. Well, the hated Falcons are playing the hated Saints too. And I think, look, this team knows that it's on its last leg. They're not going to the playoffs. But if they have any pride at all, they are going to show up in this game. And there have been games where the Falcons have been really good, and there have been games where they just stunk up the joint. I'm not saying they're necessarily going to be really good in this game, Zach, but I'm just not buying the complete love for the Tyler Shuck hype train right now. And it just feels like, again, this is a pick strictly on feel. I'm not putting any money on it, but it just feels like to me this would be a spot to bet Atlanta.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, you could certainly see that, like, oh, the Saints are coming home and they're favored against their rivals and they just won a game and everybody's feeling good. What could go wrong? Well,
exactly.
When you're a bad team, things can always go south on you. I would not try to be sneaky and use Saints and knockout or anything if you're still in it. I would not. I wouldn't bet on the Saints. I agree. My pick is based more on how bad the Falcons are.
I hear you.
Shape the Falcons are in than it has to do with the Saints necessarily all of a sudden becoming this good team. In fact, I think the Saints turn around and lose both games on this road trip coming up if I had to pick now. But we'll see.
They're gonna lose both games.
I think Shuck, it'd be really important if he could back up that performance in Charlotte with another good performance against a defense that on paper is better than Carolina's. I know they didn't really look like it last week, but I just think the more good performances he stacks up against anybody, the better it is for this team's future.
Look, I hope I'm wrong. It's much more fun. Look, if they win this game Sunday, Monday's going to be a fun show. We haven't had, we had a fun show after they beat the Panthers, but this would be a different kind of show. This would be like there's actual real hope, not just a one-game thing. The Saints haven't won back-to-back games in over a calendar year. Think about that for a minute. The last time they won back-to-back games was November 10th and November 17th of 2024 when they beat Atlanta and Cleveland at home. And that's a long time ago. The first two games of the Rizzi era. And it's been a long time since then. Chris says that if I see the way Cousins looks physically this year, he looks done. Saints crush him. I hate to tell you this, Chris, but except for the last Thursday, the Jets and Patriots, when I had some freelance work to do, I've seen a huge chunk live of every single NFL game this entire season. You can ask Zach. Even when I'm at the Saints game, I got the Red Zone channel on my iPad, and we're watching both things. So I've seen Kirk Cousins because I've seen every Atlanta Falcons game this year. I get it. I understand what you're saying. He looks done, and maybe he is done. But Kirk Cousins has actually had some success in the Superdome, and it's a 3 o'clock game. It's not a night game. I think he's going to be okay, not great. But again, I'll go back to what we were saying, Zach. I think Bijan is going to have. I think Bijan and Algier are going to have really good games. I really do.
And that should be the plan from Atlanta. I honestly, I don't want to oversimplify it because things can change. But if one team gets out to like a 10-point lead in this game, I think that team wins the game and maybe that will never happen and it will just go back and forth. But I think having the lead and the ability to mix run and pass is going to be critical in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Charles wants to know, where's the confidence? Look, I call them as I see them. Again, I make my picks as someone who's been doing sports betting for a long time. And again, as someone who's been doing sports betting, if I had to bet on this game, I would bet on Atlanta, again, because of the field spot of where it is. I think these teams are what and what. I think the Falcons should be better. I think the Falcons are more talented than the Saints, but they are so poorly coached. They are a team just muddling around, and they could finish the season with a whimper and go 3-14. It wouldn't shock me if they did. I think the Saints have a chance to actually finish ahead of them in the standings. I know it's not what the tankers want, but as far as confidence go, I'm calling as I see them. And that's what I say. Sean wants to know, do we think that moving on from Cooks improves the offense? I don't think it affects anything.
Not immediately. I think the benefit from it is you get Mason Tipton more touches, you get Devon Vele more touches, you
Correct.
get these guys more more rhythm with Tyler Shuck, and also just more experience to see what you have in them. So I think that's the benefit of it. I don't think they're demonstrably.
Yeah, I don't think it
better
hurts or helps
Cooks right now.
Yep. And last pick of here, Sean says Saints 27, Falcons 16. All right, we'll let you go. I know you're going to have a busy Friday on Lane Kiffin watch. Tell everybody if any news breaks. I'm sure you LSU insiders will be jumping on the case right away.
Yeah, LSU Insider Podcast. We'll have a live reaction show whenever LSU makes its coaching hire. If it's this weekend with Lane Kiffin, maybe even if Lane Kiffin comes out and says I'm staying at Ole Miss, we might do a live reaction show to that as far as what's next for the Tigers. So yeah, we'll have that. We'll also have Saints Insider post game on Sunday after the show, and just keep it rolling, man. I do think Saints win this game. Like, is 6 wins off the table then? Like, they could actually end up with a reasonably good record if they win this game, I think.
Look, again, if that happens, that would be great especially for some idiot who bet the over 5.5 the night before Carr announced his decision or whatever. Don't get me started on that. I'm a moron. But so yeah, great. Go win 6 games. That'll really piss the tankers off. All right, we will see you next Friday, and we'll be watching out if there's any news. We'll be following you on the LSU Insiders, and I will see you in the Dome on Sunday.
All right, Jim. See you then.
Zach Ewing, everybody. Yep, we'll be at the Dome together on Sunday. Yes, just because I'm not working for the Times-Picayune anymore, I am still a credentialed member of the Saints media. There you go. I will be at the game on Sunday in the press box. I don't think I'm sitting in my same. I think they're moving me over a seat or two, but I'm pretty much in the same boat. Mark wants to know, do I still use my email from the Advocate? No. My email now is jim@jimderry.com. If you want to email me, jim@jimderry.com. That's pretty easy to remember. Sean says LSU beats Western Kentucky 24-7. He also said Tulane over Temple 34-20. All right. Okay, let's get into this. I'm going to bring the guys back in here real quick before we get to the pick'em. Gentlemen, final thoughts on LSU before we move on and make our pick'ems and try to close the show out.
Like deja vu.
Deja vu all over again. Yeah. Gabe, you want to piss me off again or no? Nah. No. All right. Let's get to we appreciate, by the way, before we do, and I know that you guys feel the same way, you big dummy in the middle. I never even realized you're wearing your big dummy shirt.
It doesn't even say big dummy. Lamont would be a big dummy shirt. Lamont's the big dummy, not Fred.
Fred? I mean, he was kind of a big dummy too sometimes.
Yeah, well, he was a dummy. That's probably why I love him. But
he fits in with us. By the way, everyone here who is new this morning, please take a second of your time, if you can, to subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page. YouTube channel, I should say. I'm an old dude. We would really appreciate it. And whether you do or don't, we certainly appreciate you for finding us. We're so glad you found us. And we have this kind of fun all the time, even when it's not breaking news. And by the way, heads up, as long as I'm not, if it happens tonight, I'm going to be covering a game. But if it happens tomorrow, Sunday, I'm not going to be able to do it either. But if it happens tomorrow or Sunday night, if breaking news comes on LSU, either tomorrow, anytime tomorrow, or Sunday evening, we will do a live show. We will come on and have a live show if it's at all physically possible. One thing now is when I'm doing, now that I'm, independent, I have to do as much freelance work as possible, and I am doing that. So if it's physically possible, we will have a show, and if it breaks here before we leave, we'll talk about it.
Maybe I'll go rogue and just go live on the channel without you knowing.
That would be interesting. You could do that.
Call me. I'll do it with you. No problem.
Oh, that's a show that everybody would want to watch. All right. The way we work our pick'em here against the spread, that is not unlike my last graphic. This is not a typo. This is not an incorrect. The pick'em crew is 56-43 against the spread this year combined. If you wonder what the record, that's our record on the left for the season. Our point total, that is the differential between, and that's how we go with the pick'em. That is our differential between our pick and what actually happens. In other words, the Saints are 2.5-point favorites. If I were to pick the Saints -3, which obviously I'm not, but if I were to pick the Saints to cover and they won by 3, I would get a 0.5 point. If I picked the Saints to cover and they lost by 1 point, then I would get a -3.5. So that's what that is. That is the point differential for the entire season. The number in these blocks are what we did last week. It wasn't the greatest week, but it wasn't the worst week on the planet either. By the way, these are all fixed numbers. I messed Gabe's numbers up last week. These are corrected numbers since then. We are all above 500 with our record. Only UBN's point differential is just slightly below water. All right, we're going to jump right into the picks, and I'm going to start with a man who had a really good few weeks, even though he went 1-2 last week. Gabe's been kind of on a tear. I'm going to start with your picks.
In the last 4 weeks.
I'm going to start with your picks, and I find the first one very interesting.
You find it interesting, but I will give you a stat.
Hold on, let me read it out. Let me read it out real quick for those who are listening to the pod. He's got Charlotte plus 43.5 against the Georgia Bulldogs. Go ahead, sir.
Kirby's never covered this number.
Yeah, so here's a little fun stat for you from Stuckey at Action Network. Kirby Smart is 0-15 against the spread as a favorite of more than 38 points.
Okay.
Earlier this season, they beat Austin Peay 28-6. Georgia is the quintessential
take
big
their
dog.
foot off the gas team.
Yeah, I mean they will steamroll you, but they just don't care. You can watch a game and they won't be even in the same stratosphere as the team they're playing, but the score will, if anyone's box score watching, they'll say, wow, Georgia really struggled. But no, they're going to coast. Kirby will take his foot off the gas in the second half. And this is a potential for some points here in the standings. So 43.5, I like it. I
still take
Stuckey and ended his tweet with this stat with how big are your stones.
Exactly.
Just having fun. Just having some fun.
Yeah, that's definitely how big are your stones pick. All right.
You talking to a guy who took the Commanders plus 2.5.
Should we do a thing with the show that if you pick a game, you have to watch the whole game?
Well, some of us can't.
Because there's no way he's watching this game.
It would be a disgusting watch. I have some disgusting watches on here.
That's why I'm looking at I'm looking at the two. I'm like,
all right, moving on. The Kansas City Chiefs. You got them 3.5-point favorites over the Indianapolis Colts, are 8-2 and are trying to cruise to the top seed. Either them or the Patriots battling it out. But you have no faith. You're going with Patrick Mahomes, given 3.5.
Are we still on the Mahomes thing?
It's not necessarily on the Mahomes train. It's more, once again, a statistical trend back pick. This is the 6th time that Patrick Mahomes has lost back-to-back games in the same season. The next game, the Chiefs went 5-0 straight up and 4-0-1 against the spread. And not only that, Kansas City is the 15th team since 1990 who is 5-5 straight up or worse and favored versus a team with an 80% or greater win percentage at this stage of the season. Those previous teams went 14-0 against the spread. So those are stats courtesy of John Ewing of BetMGM.
I got a question about the Chiefs. Y'all think they're tired?
No, I think they're just.
Yes.
I mean, think about all the games
they
they've played in the last 4 years.
This is a must-win for them.
It is.
I mean, they cannot afford to lose this game because they've got a gauntlet.
I think they can win and win by a field goal, though.
I think that when all is said and done, we're going to be on this show saying the announced demise of the Kansas City Chiefs was a little bit premature.
I'm not going to say that.
I'm also not buying the Colts. I'm really not. They've dog walked them easy.
This could be as easily be an anti-Colts bet.
This is really where the Colts are going to be tested. They have the Texans twice, and the Chiefs, as well as I think the Jags again in their upcoming games. So
yeah,
we're really going to find out a lot about the Colts.
Because it's in Kansas City.
Yeah, no, but it's still that hook. I mean, I'm not saying
hook I don't like.
If I had to take this one way or the other, I would take it with me.
Yeah, gun to head.
Mark Gapsky says his 6-star. I didn't know there was such a thing. 6-star parlay, and I'm assuming you mean money line. Saints, Patriots, and 49ers. The 49ers are playing the Panthers. The Patriots are playing who? The Patriots.
Be careful about the Patriots if Burrow comes back.
They've got until 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow to announce whether he's back.
I ain't touching either one of those games at all. Anyway,
I'm not either. I'm telling you to be careful.
Before we get to the final pick, I will say that we have, for the first time in a few weeks, we don't have either a crossfire and we don't have like picks. I know, Gabe, you expected me to make this pick.
I really didn't, because
I couldn't do it.
I don't blame you.
As much as I think Shedeur is overrated and stinks, the Raiders stink too, and I just don't know if Shedeur actually has a good game. And the reason why I said what I said earlier, it's not going to make me think any. I know the Shedeur lovers can't wait to come out and say, "Oh, look how good he is." They're playing the Raiders. I
want him to throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns.
It's just to shut everybody up.
No, because I'm not a Shedeur lover. I just want all the Shedeur lovers to go here and then.
But then it's going to be the other way, though. They're going to come out of the cracks, though. They don't care. They don't care if it's the Raiders. Any chance Shedeur lovers have to brag on him and say, "See, the Saints should have taken Shedeur." By the way, can we get over that now?
And then in 3 weeks, it's going to be, oh my God, look how bad he is.
Can we at least at the bare minimum say, at least the Saints don't know a lot, but at least they knew what they were doing, not taking Shedeur? Can we at least say that? Maybe they shouldn't have taken Tyler Shuck in the second round, but can we at least understand why 31 teams didn't touch Shedeur Sanders until the 5th round? Can we at least say that?
Jim, you and I have gotten into
you've got Raiders minus 3.5 over the Browns as your pick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you and I have gotten in some heated debates about the NFL having a quarterback development problem, how you can't make a judgment on a quarterback after one game. I'm going to break what I've been saying.
Yeah,
I 100% agree with you with Shedeur. All the same problems that he had in college appeared in that half.
2 sacks. Listen to this.
Not
only did he get sacked twice, Gabe, but he got sacked twice for 27 yards. How do you lose 13.5 yards per sack? I mean, again, that's exactly what we're talking about. And he threw a pick in 13 pass attempts. Should have been 2, because one was right to Kyle Hamilton and Kyle Hamilton just dropped. And the Ravens will win. All the Browns, dummy Browns fans who were in the stands chanting for Shedeur to come in while the Browns were winning the damn game. You're just morons. It's mind-boggling how stupid people can be. 13-10 Browns were winning when Shedeur came into the game. They lost 26-13. There you go.
Can I say this though?
Go ahead.
I don't think it would have mattered who played quarterback for the Browns.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that would have been the final score, though. I think the Browns would have scored again if Dylan Gabriel was in there. All right, anyway, go.
The funny thing about all this is that they talking about Shedeur not getting number one team reps with the number one team, like reps with the first team. Okay. Baker Mayfield went to the Rams on a Tuesday and threw for 400 yards on a Sunday.
And won a game.
He barely knew the people's names.
Exactly.
Bailey Zappi, who is going to be the Browns' backup, also is not getting any first-team reps, so it's not just Shedeur.
Yeah, well, no.
Bailey Zappi may play in this game.
Bailey Zappi should play in this game.
Possibility. All right, just real quick.
Bailey Zappi plays in this game. I don't like this pick.
Raiders minus 3.5 over the Browns. You pretty much said why, but is it strictly an anti-Shedeur pick?
So since 1999, quarterbacks making their NFL debuts for the Cleveland Browns, debut starts, I should say, are 0-17 straight up. Yeah. This line stinks because Raiders shouldn't be 3.5-point favorites over anybody.
Yeah.
If the Browns win this game, it's not going to be with offense. I think the Raiders have shown at points this season that they can score. Yeah. And if Geno Smith is really struggling, I believe Aiden O'Connell's back healthy, and that I'm not going to say could give him a spark, but it could be something.
Who's going to have more sacks, Crosby or Gabe?
Scoring much, so the reward far outweighs the risk in this pick in terms of our standings.
I agree with you. If I had to pick, and I'm not, I don't know. Maybe it's last minute. I'll make a bet in this game. I don't know. But if I had to pick, I would also take the Raiders. But I just can't. I can't do it. I got to stay.
I would want to flirt with the under. Last I checked, it was 36.5. But the Raiders have shown. They showed a couple weeks ago against Jacksonville that they can score when they use Brock Bowers. So
actually, I almost took the over. Anyway, all right, moving on. UBN's turn. UBN had a rough week last week. Is that ever since I started?
Echo Bidnick, can we make some picks today? Well, can we please?
Ever since,
That's
I
to
started
drive me
playing
to
this.
therapy.
Ever since I started playing that song again, it's been a rough go for you, UBN. You
trying
were
to woosah.
kicking all of our asses. Anyway,
I was, and then you found my kryptonite.
yeah. So we're having fun with it. Anyway,
You're having fun with it. Don't say we.
Gabe's having
Say
fun
no,
with it
we,
too. He's
kid.
just not talking about it.
I'm no
me and
longer
Gabe.
last in the standings. So.
Yeah, Gabe's definitely having fun with it. All right, you got some totals this week. You're staying in your lane for two of them. One of them you're going out of your lane, but you like the totals, and we're going to start with Duke over 51.5 against the Tar Heels.
Duke doesn't do anything well on defense. Tackle, cover, rush the passer. Like and I mean, say what you will about Belichick. He's got Carolina at least playing better and competing. So I could see this just being a shootout. Either way, if Duke can't stop North Carolina or North Carolina can't stop Duke, it's a rivalry game. They're gonna try and score as much points as possible. So I don't see how this doesn't go over at all. I think Duke's last 4 games went over this total. And
That's a weird number. This seems like it should be higher than that. So I'm if I had to bet, I'd be with you.
You know what the worst part about that is? The last few coaches who have coached at Duke, including their current head coach, Manny Diaz, are all defensive guys.
Yeah.
That's true.
But you see Duke's totals. You see Duke. They give up so many points.
It's concerning.
Ever since Cutcliffe left, maybe they should go back to an offensive guy.
It's basketball season. Ain't nobody even.
Yeah, that's true. Nobody at Duke's cares.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Carolina. They care.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't know. All right. You got an SEC game here. Mizzou and Oklahoma, the Sooners under 42.5. Some people might wonder, is this just a reaction to kind of what they saw last week?
Yeah, I kind of liked OU here, but I just went with the under because I don't know how OU is going to come off of that big upset win to Bama. And OU really shouldn't have won that game. They gave up twice as many yards as Bama, just Bama turned the ball over. Missouri, they love to run. They're going to try and run Hardy as much as they can. So in Oklahoma, I think it's going to do the same thing because I don't know if Mateer's still healthy. So both these teams want to run the ball. OU has a great defensive line. They're going to stop the run. And I just see this being one of them old school SEC games, 17-10 type stuff. Let
me ask you this. Does Bo Perbula's status being up in the air, would that change? If he plays, would that change this pick for you?
Not really. I mean, Perbula runs too. So, I mean, he's not really a great passer either. So, OU could be a hangover here too.
The weather in Norman, in case anyone is interested, is going to be absolutely perfect. Probably around 60 and sunny. So the weather will not affect the game. Yeah, the weather will not play a factor in this game. Then finally, in the Silver Dome. Oh wait, it's not the Silver Dome anymore. I'm old. I don't care. I'll still call it the Silver Dome. It's not even the same building. Doesn't matter. Giants at Detroit. We got a point. It's crab legs time. They're selling crab legs in Detroit.
Dart's back.
Huh? No, Dart's back? I didn't think he was.
Jameis Winston is starting this game.
I like this even better now.
There you go. Anyway, Giants, Lions over 50.5.
I think the Lions are going to score 45 in this game. Like I think Campbell's going to be so pissed going 0 for 5 and 4th downs, the idiot on Monday. Like I just think it's going to be like the punter shouldn't even suit up for Detroit. I don't think. Like he's going to try and prove that he was right. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of those type of games where you know how Detroit is.
There may not be a lot of 4th downs anyway.
Yeah, how Detroit is in that dome, coming off a loss. Like I just see this being a lot of points.
All right.
Jared Goff's back inside.
Yep.
Here's some doom for you. I definitely like the 2 over picks. The under pick, I don't feel either way, but I'm
total. And I don't like that low of a total under either. But
I'm feeling good about your pick, so you know.
Uncle Bidnick, can we make some picks today? Well, can we please?
Usually when I do a 2-for, he really sucks.
The second time. Meme.
If I play it 3 times, I'll go 0-3. Every time you play it, that's what I do. That's how many losses I get.
Who's got the fire? I do. 2-1 last week. My point differential has not been fantastic, but I've been winning 22-11 on the season against the spread. And I'm going to go with, look, I usually like to jump on the train of the team that's been bad and find something good. And as you will see elsewhere on my list, if you can see the screen, but the Cardinal season has already made a sharp downturn. And I think they're headed straight towards a top 5 pick. After 5 close losses, they had a shocking win against Dallas. They've been absolutely destroyed 2 games in a row. I'm not sure why they will care at all here. Give me the Jaguars -3 on the road at Arizona. Meanwhile, the Jags, they have a chance to gain a game. If the Colts do what Gabe Henderson thinks is going to happen and the Colts lose at Kansas City, then the Jaguars know that they can gain a game in the AFC South when they go into this game on Sunday. So I like Jags -3 here. I actually think they could. I don't know if they're going to do with, I don't know if the Cardinals are going to lose like by 20, what they've been doing the last couple of weeks, but I like the Jags to win by maybe even as many as 10 or 12 here. So I like that one.
This game.
Go ahead. What's that?
I like the over in this game.
Actually, I started messing around. I actually kind of like the under because of when you look at what they've been, and if you take the last 2 games out of the equation, under kind of plays in, but the Jaguars are so hard to predict on what they're going to do scoring wise. So that's why I stayed away from the total.
What team in the league right now is easy to predict? Jesus, all of them are.
The Texans unders.
Texans unders, yeah, pretty much. What are you talking about? The Saints are going to win all the rest of their games. They're easy to predict. All right, moving on. My next pick is Steelers +2.5 over the Bears, and I am going out on a limb. That's why they call me a gambler, degenerate, whatever it is. I am reading through tea leaves. To me, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play. He and his bum left wrist. I think he's going to play in Chicago. I got off the bashing the Bears train for a week. I let Gabe take my place. He took the hit. I stayed away from it. I'm back on it this week. I think the Steelers have something to prove. Playing against a mediocre team, I like the Steelers' chances here. Give me 2.5. It was the right week to stay away from Mr. Mediocre at quarterback for the Bears. But I'm back, baby. Give me them Steelers +2.5.
If you out on a limb, I'll alert the ants.
By the way, this line will probably, if it gets announced that Rodgers is not going to play, probably will go to 4.5. I still like the Steelers, but I would bet it now because if they announce that Rodgers is going to play, I don't know if it goes to even, but I think you lose at least a point. That's just my guess. So.
Jim, you're talking bad about Caleb Williams. He's the second best quarterback in that division.
Huh?
The quarterback in that division stink.
Yeah.
Jordan, no. I'm so over Jordan Love. Jordan Love stinks.
Okay. He's not. Jordan Love is better than Caleb Williams. Sorry. But that's a whole different show. All right. Lastly here, speaking of Jordan Love, and I'm backing him, but now I'm going against him. Vikings +6.5 over the Green Bay Packers. As y'all know, I already told you, I love average teams and good teams coming off of bad times. The Vikings literally gave one away last week to the Bears and, just kind of ruined the party for Gabe Henderson. In a sense, the same thing could be said. Look, the Vikings are on the brink, okay? Same thing could be said for Green Bay here. But something just isn't right there. And I don't know if it's because Jordan Love stinks or maybe he's not as good as I thought he was or Green Bay is not as good. I could tell you this.
They got 87 number 2 receivers and no number 1.
I think LaFleur has coached this season differently than he's coached in years past. And it's almost like panic mode. I don't like the way he's coached this season at all. I've been a huge backer of his, but I think he's been bad this year. And look, Brian, I almost took the under here as well, but I can't keep taking unders. I've been doing well with unders. Got lucky last night, so I just kind of stayed away from totals this week. I think the Brian Flores' defense keeps it close. Wouldn't shock me if Minnesota wins it outright. I'm not willing to pick that yet. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens with Josh Jacobs. He's questionable right now, although he's doing a lot better. It looks like he's going to play. Not 100% sure, but Minnesota has won 3 of the past 4 outright in this series. They've won 6 of the past 9 outright in this series. I like the Minnesota Vikings there at the bare minimum to keep it close and to cover.
Yeah, I like this pick
for Green Bay.
Yeah, and Green Bay doesn't really blow out people besides Detroit in the beginning of the year.
Well, they got Detroit next week. So
well, I will say this: must wins never affect. I can't say never. unless it's a really good team. Like I understand where you're coming from.
No,
The Kansas
yeah.
City pick, but I mean, to me, must wins only matter if it's a really good team. Otherwise, I don't care if it's a must win.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't making that comment in relation to your pick. I was just saying in general. With Detroit looming, they can't lose this game, or they're at risk of not making the playoffs.
Randall says if Mike Tomlin doesn't win the division this year with Burrow being out most of the season and Lamar being injured in Baltimore starting 1.5, he should definitely be fired. If they fire Tomlin, I think
They won't fire Tomlin.
No.
Nor should
Fire
they.
coaches.
All right, final thoughts, gentlemen, before we move on.
I got a question for Jim to ponder.
Okay, what?
Who's the best quarterback right now playing on Louisiana teams?
The best quarterback playing on, what do you mean? You in college?
Like, LSU, Saints, like who? Think about all the. Yeah, probably the Tulane quarterback.
Yeah, but he went through like 4 or 5 weeks where he was kind of nobody.
I know, but I mean, that's what I mean. Like, it's just a bad year.
Yeah, it's just been a bad year, I think, overall. All right, gentlemen, we'll see how we do, and I will see y'all next week. And again, Gabe and I will be on if something happens, breaking news, if we can, with Lane Kiffin. We'll be on as soon as we can.
Next week, I'm gonna try and be on.
So speaking of Lane Kiffin, UBN said I was wearing black for something for Lane Kiffin. I'm wearing black to resemble the coal on the Lane train that's going to bring him to Baton Rouge.
By the way, Mark Gapsky, I got your email. So I'm not sure I got your email. I obviously can't watch that, but Mark Gapsky, if you're still watching, I've got your email. Charles, did I get your email? Not as of yet. Doesn't mean I won't get it. It's doing some weird thing where it's sending a note saying that it's not forwarding to my other email address, but I'm getting them all. Sometimes they take a little bit to get through. So anyway.
One last comment on last night's
go
game. I'm going to agree with Skip Bayless. Will Anderson is better than Micah Parsons.
Will Anderson's a beast.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know about that. What you just said.
He is.
The difference is he can stop the run. Micah Parsons really doesn't play the run.
Well, you said you agree with Skip Bayless, like you lost me there, but then you said something that I agreed with. So that's where I guess got lost.
I probably wouldn't agree with Skip Bayless if he said that, I don't know,
the sky was blue.
Was a bad quarterback. No,
yeah, Will Anderson moved from plus 1,800 to plus 700 to win DPOY after last night.
Okay.
So.
All right, gentlemen, we'll see you next week. Gabe, I'll see you Monday unless something happens. UBN, I'll see you next Friday.
Maybe tonight.
By the way, y'all are good with day after Thanksgiving show?
Yeah, I'll have a beach in my background probably.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Just bottle it up and send it to us. All right. See y'all later. Good. I also didn't get to tell, UBN the forecast, by the way, for next weekend. It's supposed to get super cold, so enjoy that on the beach. S. Cali, great show. Who dat? Good stuff. Go Tigers. I'm going to say this again before I go off the air. Again, this is the most people we probably had watching a live show in a while. Not the most ever. Certainly the most watching a live show since we went independent 3 weeks ago. And I am going to say it again. I thank everyone who has been in my corner supporting me. I appreciate y'all much. If you want to support me, well, there's multiple ways you can do it. If you want to sponsor the show, you can reach out to me, jim@jimderry.com. Very reasonable prices. Actually, just finished my pricing list. I'm about to send it out to a couple people who are interested. So if you want to get in touch with me, and look, if you just want to reach out and see what it takes to sponsor the Dattitude podcast, if you got a small business and you don't want to, no harm, no foul. It's okay. Reach out. We'd love to talk to you a little bit. And another great way to support us is just to subscribe. Find us on YouTube if you haven't already. Click the subscribe button. Make sure you leave a comment. You leave a like if you want. Find me on Facebook. Follow me on Facebook as well. Follow me on X. Those are the ways that you can support me. We really appreciate you. Brian, thank you so much. Fantastic show. Thanks for all that we do. Charles Mangus, awesome show again. Chad, I'm not sure what Chad's talking about there. Speedos? No Speedos in the show. Just not gonna now. See, now I gotta just hit the close button. I gotta wrap it up. That is gonna wrap it up for us. I don't even know how to follow that up. This is gonna wrap it up for us on this Friday. I want to thank today's guest, of course, Zach Ewing, Gabe Henderson, UBN, and you are always a guest. You're more than a guest. You're family. Hope you can join us again next, as you see on the screen, or if you can't see it on the screen, our next show will be Monday. This coming Monday, November the 24th. Excuse me for Clint. I'm so fired up. November the 24th at 11 a.m. Central Time. It will be Mono E Monday, where we will talk about the New Orleans Saints, of course, the LSU Tigers. Well, there's got to be news by then on Lane Kiffin, right? Again, possibility that a next live show is not Monday. It's actually before Monday. If there's Lane Kiffin news, we may come on the air and do a live show. We will see. Jody Alexander, thank you so much. Oh, Chad Gage talking about UBN and the beach. Yeah. Oh, man. A reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. I'll tell you that already. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. You can always find us on Apple, Spotify. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on X. And you can find me here next Monday. Everyone have a wonderful, fantastic, glorious weekend. Roll Wave. Go Tigers. Go Saints. We will see you on Monday. Take it easy, my friends.